Heya Cryptozens. Tonight's show. Stablecoins facing suit over UST loss. CFTC chair says Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. It's 10 p.m. Pacific time. The date is May 22nd, 2022. Welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. I'm your host, Nick. The cover model for this podcast is Tex, and together we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space and the industry that surrounds it. So take a minute, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast now, because we're here at 10 p.m. every single night to bring you the crypto news analysis that you need to start your day. And keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. Stablegains is a Y Combinator ally. They were in the class of winter of 2022. They got a decent amount of money for it. $600,000 from Y Combinator, $480,000 from a bunch of angel investors. By the time the dust settled, they had over $3 million in funding. This included Snow Ventures, Moonfire, Goodwater Capital. Their founders graduated from top London universities. They'd already held down executive positions in reputable companies. That was not enough to save them, though. Not only that, they're probably going to find themselves in court. Stablegains is a yield generation app, and they're probably going to be the target of a class action lawsuit because they lost $44 million of their customers' money. And they lost it, like many people, they lost it investing in UST. And they have been warned. Erickson, Kramer, and Osborne is a class action law firm. They sent Stablegains a letter on May 14th, and in this letter, they started demanding things. They demanded copies of customers' accounts, marketing and advertising materials, and communications regarding Terra USD. Here's the final clue. They wrote, quote, "You owe an uncompromising duty to preserve any evidence you know or reasonably should know that would be relevant in a pending lawsuit, even though no case has been filed." Now, on the next day, on the 15th, Stablegains, they broke their silence. Co-founder Kamil Ryzkowski came out with just how much money they lost from investing in UST. In a post on their research forums, Ryzkowski said Stablegains was holding on to over 47 million UST. That came from 4,878 investors. And at that point, they were officially asking for some relief if any kind of compensation was being handed out. So, right about $44 million lost, which generally isn't illegal. In this case, though, it's not so clear. And that's why people are warning Stablegains now. Preserve evidence or face a whole different issue. And remember, they were asking for materials on Stablegains marketing and advertising, and they were looking for information about UST, because it would appear that they lied to their customers. They promised it was, quote, simple and safe. They said they had a 15% annual percentage rate of return, and that was possible because of, quote, advances in financial technology. They said that they were safeguarding their depositors' assets, and they said it would be stable, quote, regardless if the crypto markets are soaring or crashing. Well, none of that proved to be true. While they claimed they were managing their customers' funds, they weren't. What they were doing was depositing their money that came from the investors. They were depositing it in Anchor. Now, Anchor is, or was, a Terra-based protocol. Their DeFi platform generated 18% yield rate, and they were offering 18% on Terra USD deposits. So, effectively, what Stablegains was doing was charging people 3% to deposit their money in Anchor. Anchor gives Stablegains 18% back, and Stablegains only hands 15%. And granted, this is all kind of skeezy. The question is, why is this a problem? Well, it's a problem because they lie. It's been deleted, but Stablegains used to have documentation on their website that covered basically how they made that money for their investors. And it was a complete fabrication. They had an article posted. And this article claimed that they were using mostly USDC to generate yields. They did say that there were some smaller holdings in US Terra and DAI. That was before the crash. After the crash, on the 17th of May, and well after UST crashed, the truth was told. They updated their situation and admitted to holding all of their customers' funds in UST, which was now zero. And that's all very bad, but it gets worse. Because after intentionally mismanaging their customers' funds, after misrepresenting their work to those customers, after losing all of the value that was entrusted to them, now they're trying to get people to sign their rights away, specifically their right to sue. So they've halted all withdrawals, right? And then they started letting people take out their USDC and their UST, sort of. They were only letting people withdraw USDC at the value of UST. So instead of getting a full dollar per USDC, they were only getting 17 cents or whatever UST was trading at the moment. Okay, and that's bad. Still not the worst part. The worst part is found in the terms and conditions, because there's a catch in there for anyone withdrawing USDC. And it said, quote, under no circumstances shall Stablegains be liable to losses due to exchange rate of UST to USDC at the time of processing your USDC withdrawal request. So basically that says you can get your money out, but you can't hold us responsible. You know that we're going to give you less than you're supposed to be getting. Basically, they just don't want anybody getting in on any of these class action lawsuits. Now, personally, I think Stablegains is going to get wrecked. It might not happen, but if this lawsuit comes off, they're hosed. Stablegains has no footing, no excuse for what they did. Deceptive advertising. They claimed most of their money was coming from USDC, not UST. And I think the reason for that is because even before the crash, there were a lot of people who had serious questions about algorithmic stablecoins. And I think maybe Stablegains was concerned that if they told the truth, that a lot of their funding was going to come from an algorithmic stablecoin, they thought people would run for the hills. And they were probably right. And while Stablegains is going to be experiencing some substantial consequences for their actions, this really is just one small, tiny little story in the aftermath of the Terra Luna crash. Okay, let's take a quick break and look at the markets. At the time of writing, the global crypto market cap is $1.29 trillion. It's up 2.93% in 24. The top 5 cryptos by market cap are Bitcoin up 3%, Ethereum up 3.17%, Tether, USDC, and Binance Coin up 2.13%. The global NFT market cap is up over $10.98 billion. Sales volume is up 1.98% in 24 hours. According to CoinMarketCap, the top 5 NFT collections by sales volume are Goblin Town, followed by Other Deed, Chimpers, Mutant Apes, and Bored Apes. Now keep in mind, some of these collections have very volatile prices, so do your own research. So I think we need to get Rostin Benham in a room with Gary Gensler so they can work this out. You know that saying, when your only tool is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail? I think it's very applicable here. Applicable and somewhat predictable. Because Gary Gensler is the head of the Securities Exchange Commission, and he views things like Ethereum to be securities. That means he feels like crypto is his thing. He feels like it belongs to the SEC. Rostin Benham doesn't agree. And as chair of the CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Commission, he gets a say, and his opinion has some weight. What he said is things like Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. And that said, he sees the digital assets market as having both commodities and securities. So that's part of it, right? Figuring out which are the commodities and which are the securities. He said, quote, within the sphere of digital assets and the coins which make up thousands of thousands, they are naturally going to be some commodities and securities. In my view, it makes sense to sort of parse through the two and figure out where we can place each. But Gensler, he has made similar statements, but in reverse. He said a number of times that he feels that most of the crypto world is a security-based thing. Most, if not all, cryptocurrencies are securities, in his opinion. According to Benham, regulating the crypto industry and regulating it in an even-handed manner. That's going to be tough to do, but it is so important to get it right. He said, quote, "It's going to be difficult to form a legislative standpoint, and given the novelties of some of these coins and the technology, we're going to have to figure out what would constitute the security under the traditional securities law and what would constitute more of a commodity so that we can regulate appropriately given the two different legal structures." Now, as far as which is which, he's pretty clear. Bitcoin, he says Bitcoin is a commodity. Ethereum, same thing. He said, quote, "There may be, in fact, hundreds, if not thousands of security coins, but there are plenty of commodity coins, and I think it makes sense, as we've done historically, to make sure that each agency has jurisdiction over commodities and securities, respectively." It's his view, and I agree, that there is a strong need for fair, measured regulation. It's his argument that consumer protections are the very thing that gave the commodities and securities markets their success. In a statement, he talks about that a lot of people got hurt in the Terra Luna crash. A lot of people lost a lot of value. And he said, quote, "There really are no customer protections right now. We have a number of state-level regulations and oversights, but in terms of market oversight, in terms of disclosures, we don't really have that much right now as it relates to traditional financial markets." As far as the SEC goes, there's legislation out there right now that would put the bulk of digital asset regulation squarely under the SEC. Now, he says that they have, quote, "a great working relationship historically." That said, when he was asked about this particular bill, he restated his belief that the CFTC should regulate commodities and the SEC should regulate securities. The trick, from my standpoint, is agreeing on which is which. And that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed tonight's show, like, comment, and subscribe. Give us a glowing review, because that helps other people find their way to this podcast. And we're here each and every night at 10 p.m. Pacific to bring you the crypto news analysis that you need to start your day. And you can find us on podcasting platforms everywhere or on YouTube. Do you have questions or comments? Reach out and let us know. The email address is nick@cryptoovernighter.com. That's nick@cryptoovernighter.com. And until next time, may all your investments go up and to the right.